What are your thoughts on trans women competing against biological women in sports?
Depends on the sport, and I think not enough is known about this yet. So I think, first of all, I try to defer to peer-reviewed research and medical experts on this. So I'm not super interested in what right-wing pundits or whatever have to say about it. From the research I've done and the peer-reviewed research that is out there, it's not, it's sort of it's a more complicated issue, I think, than get men out of women's sports, which is what you hear from Trump at rallies. There are certain sports where it really doesn't seem to matter.
Sports like what?
Equestrian, archery, others that, there are sports that are gender segregated and don't really seem like they need to be. There's, you can make the argument that there's gymnastics events that don't really need to be gender segregated, that aren't based on strength. So you've got a category of, so there's the totality of sports. Then you've got this gendered sports. So we're slicing. Some of these, it doesn't really seem like it makes much of a difference. There are others where, if you look at some of the research data, if you were to restrict it to assigned male at birth individuals who have been on the right hormone treatments for X period of time, that the performance advantage falls within a standard deviation, which basically means like it's within the normal variability you would expect among those born biologically female or assigned female at birth. So like that would be an argument to me for saying, in those cases, it doesn't really matter. My kind of take on this is, I think a lot of this stuff is new enough that we don't have every answer yet. There are some who are really using this to find a new public enemy number one. For a while, it was gay men. Now it's moved on to the trans community, to scapegoat in some cases. I'm against that. I'm for treating everybody with dignity. So yeah, I think I don't have an answer. It seems obvious that in some sports it doesn't make sense, and it should be okay to say that. And it also seems like in some sports, it really doesn't make a difference. And we're still learning about other sports. We're still learning about the impact. There's those who say, David, muscle mass doesn't matter because there's something about the angle of the hips to the femur that I'm just not sure about that yet. We're still learning about a lot of this stuff. And then the other thing I'll say is a lot of athletic institutions have already been dealing with this for decades when it comes to intersex individuals. And they have existing protocols which could be looked at. And very few people who are just about get men out of women's sports, very few of them take the time to look and say, oh, how does the NCAA handle this? Or how does this entity or that entity? And I think there's a lot to glean from that.
There was a lot of data on intersex people.
There's policies for how different athletic leagues handle those situations, which could be instructive in thinking about this issue.
I have never, at least I don't think I've met like an intersex person, and I don't even know how many exist. So I don't know if that's like
I think it's 1/3 of 1% of people I heard.
That sounds really high.
It depends.
But I could be completely wrong.
It sounds a little low to me.
Listening,
really?
I think there's a couple things. There's a couple things that go on. There's a lot of, I don't know if the right thing is to call it, I want to be careful here. I don't know if it's called a treatment because treatment implies disease and I'm just not sure. I think that there are interventions, both hormonally and surgically, that are often done with folks that are born with different traits, so that by the time they hit puberty, one would not know because it's been dealt with in one way or another earlier in life. So I think that that's part of it.
Oh, this is 1.7.
OHCHR.org says that 1.7% of people are intersex.
Yeah. So
people born with sex characteristics that do not fit typical binary notions of male or female bodies.
I was thinking 1%. You said 1/3 of one. Maybe it's 1/7.
Wow.
I think
That
it's in
seems
that range.
high to me,
Doesn't
but
it?
then again, I guess you wouldn't know if it. In a lot
So
of
then you
those
just
cases,
get treated when you're a kid and your parents don't tell you.
Yeah,
I don't know about don't tell you I'm stepping out of my medical knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we're all
yeah
outside of the frame here, but that's fascinating. I had no idea it was that high.
Yeah, but I think the point is there are resources that we could go to that have established protocols for this stuff, which could be really instructive.
It would also be interesting to measure the difference in intersex people versus biological male or biological female, because I don't know if there's even some like middle.
I'm not sure.